We're at the Museum of Root Beer in Wisconsin. The Museum of Root Beer. And here we are. And it's got all the history of root beer. All the glasses, the kegs, all the cans and bottles of the different kinds of root beer in the U.S. All kinds of mugs that say root beer. They even got gallon bottles on display. And they've got all the root beer stand or drive-in experience has been treasured uniquely American slice of life for generations. Since the 20s, franchises like A&W, Stewart's, BK, Dog and Suds, Frost Top, Triple X, and others provided a fun time with good food. While famous for burgers, hot dogs, and fries, drive-ins kept the parking lots full, largely due to the fresh, unique root beer. Customers parked and approached the service window, or they were waited on their cars, depending on the establishment. Women took over the role of car hop in the 40s as many young men served the country during World War II, and the trend stuck. Rolling up to cars on skates at some restaurants, attractive car hops would take orders and hang food trays from open windows with heavily laden with mugs of root beer. The golden age of drive-ins reached its height in the 50s and 60s, and millions of memories were made of couples or families ate together in their vehicles. Only a relative few establishments survive today, but the nostalgic influence of the root beer stand on the American life will live forever. And this is the Root Beer Museum. We have video here of root beer. This is kind of cool that this is all the times in the comic strips that Charles Schulz used root beer in one of his ads. Like Woodstock's here. He says something to Snoopy. What a stupid question. Why would I forget the root beer and the olives? But that's all the comic strips that had root beer in them. And over 3,000 brands of root beer. Some of you see vests in there, and all kinds. Preferred Selection, Prairie Rock, all of them. And all kinds of root beer advertisement and nostalgia. Some of The jerks of the soda. It says in the mid 1700s, American farm brewers adapt native North American recipes to make very low or non-alcoholic drinks. The root beer precursor known as small beer, as Americans spread westward, new root brews were developed and found across the country. The drink of the founding fathers, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin, all said to have their favorite recipes for root beer. This is some of the history of, here's Hires root beer. In 1884, root beer is the first soda flavor to be marketed in a national advertising campaign, as Hires runs attention-grabbing ads in publication and declares it a wholesome beverage for the whole family. In 1886, bottling of Hires root beer begins. A&W on the scene. In 1921, the first A&W root beer stand opens in the corner of K and 19th Street in Sacramento, California, and marks the beginning of the future franchise that was spread across the United States. And there's all the different mascots of root beer, with, I'm sure, the bear right there being the most familiar to me, you know, but them are all different mascots of the root beer brand. Anyway, off the beaten path, it's the Root Beer Museum, and if you're ever in Baraboo, Wisconsin, this is downtown Baraboo. Come see it off the beaten path.